I know we're live.
We are live.
Okay, to my EP, thank you. Just move on up. I love this. We're gonna let this ride for a second. Welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody to Civics for the Soul. As you all know, I'm KKP. We're having fun. I actually do have a mimosa thanks to my sister-in-law. I'm so thankful. It's a wonderful one. Let's see. Now listen to this first part. Hold on. Just move on up. That's the part right there. So welcome. Thank you everybody for joining me for another week. Civics for the Soul. We'll try to turn this down slowly. I see people joining in. Thank you so much. As you all know, at Civics for the Soul, we talk a little bit about civics and history and a little bit of community. And so I thank you for joining our weekly conversation. I have my family here with me, although they're, sitting on the sofa and they're acting like, they're enthused about, what I'm doing. But hello, family. Thank you for joining me today. Yay! See, they're joining me. Okay, and I have on my Mardi Gras beads from Mobile, where they celebrate Mardi Gras down there too. So these are my beads. So thank you. So today I just thought we would talk about and try to wrap up Black History Month. And I want to thank the ancestor, Carter G. Woodson. 1926, he came up with Negro History Week to celebrate Black history, to remind us, and sort of like as a resistance measure to everything that was going on. So we want to thank the ancestor always for the work that they've done. So I told my son that I was going live stream, and I said, could you quiet it down on the game? He said, sure. You can still hear him. Anyway, so here's the thing. I was originally thinking that Black History Month sort of got lost in the shuffle a little bit this time. And so I was disappointed with that because I didn't think that we were celebrating it enough nationally in schools. And that really was just perception. If you really think about it, the history of, or the spirit of Black History Month is all around us. So we're seeing a lot of, anti-CRT bills in our legislature, but we're also seeing a lot of resistance measures. We're seeing students who are showing up at the state capitol here in Georgia, sort of protesting and saying, look, we don't want you to ban books. We want to tell the truth in schools. And it's important, not just to Black students, it's important to everyone. And so we're seeing that measure. We're also seeing the seeds of protest, not just here in the United States, but you're also seeing the seeds of protest overseas. So what's been dominating the news cycle recently is that Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, as you all know, Ukraine is a sovereign nation as of, I think, 1991. Let's see, August 24th, 1991. And recently, February 22nd, Putin, head of the Russian Federation, he ordered Russian military forces to go into Ukraine. And he invades his country. Now, here's the thing. Everybody, it seems to me, everybody around the world is just like waiting to see what's going to happen. Like no one wants to really take a side for real. You got a lot of all of our countries, those in NATO and the UN, everyone's sort of like trying to say, well, let's just wait and see. But what we've seen though, and what I suspect is going to happen is what is meant as sort of like a war measure is actually going to turn into seeds of revolution, believe it or not. You have people in Russia who are protesting this move. You got folks in Ukraine, of course, defending themselves. Here's what I found out. So they do recognize the freedom of assembly, just like we have the freedom of assembly in the First Amendment to our Constitution. In Russia, Article 31 of the Constitution, adopted in 1993, it says this: citizens of the Russian Federation shall have the right to gather peacefully without weapons and to hold meetings, rallies, demonstrations, marches, and pickets. And I just think that's interesting that, Putin's own people are protesting in the streets. So that's something that we will all want to keep an eye on. The Ukraine also, in Article 39, they too have a right to assemble measures. So I hope that we will keep an eye on this, keep an eye on protests. My mentor, Janice Mathis, once said, she said, revolution is contagious. And so what happens in one area moves globally. So something we keep in mind. So let's talk about some of our wins. It's going to be a quick show today. So I want to talk about our wins this Black History Month. I saw the other day with the NAACP Awards, Nicole Hannah-Jones received the Social Justice Impact Award from the NAACP. And she was basically talking about how she uses her pen as a journalist in this fight for justice, very much in the tradition of Ida B. Wells Barnett, and how she used her pen when she wrote about the lynchings in the South. Her 1619 project, I think, reminds me of that. And the 1619 project sort of recenters like Black people and the Black experience, Black contributions in this narrative. And in a way, it reframes history. Of course, but anytime you talk about reframing history according to someone else's narrative, then people get upset, people get nervous. So, but that doesn't mean that we need to stop that fight. So I hope to see us all continuing, whether it's with the pen, whether it's with our right to protest, whether it's taking, speaking truth to power, however we do it. I want to see us all sort of using these civic actions to preserve citizenship and fight for democracy. So that's the first win I saw. Another win in recent news, every student at 5 Chicago high schools will get a free college tuition. I think they're paying tuition and some other stuff. Are they paying also like room and board at all over there on the sofa? Does anyone know? Did anybody see that? Don't know. Okay, it's fine. I think it was, but my alma mater, Moreland Park High School, is a product of that. So we're very happy about that. So that's a win for students who want to get a higher education. So I love that. Number 3, state of California has just sued Tesla for racial discrimination. So I'm sorry to anyone who owned a Tesla, and I'm sorry to myself for any dreams I may have had of owning a Tesla. But here's what happened. The state of California, on behalf of thousands of Black workers, after a decade, like this is 10 years of complaints against this company and a 32-month investigation, it took them, years to investigate it, they've decided to sue on behalf of the Black workers. Some of the things that were happening in their plants, of course, the N-word and other racist slurs were hurled at Black people. They had even allegedly, Tesla had segregated the Black workers into separate areas and referred to them as porch monkey stations, the dark side, the slave ship, and the plantation. I mean, like really, for real. Then they also, of course, had graffiti all over the restrooms, KKK, go back to Africa, Confederate flag, all this. So the problem here is, in addition to the fact that you just should not do that, it's discriminatory, it's unfair, it's dehumanizing. When the workers would protest and say something, they would have an investigation, allegedly, they'd have an investigation that yielded no results. And so after a while of this happening, and this 32-month investigation, the state of California believes that it has enough evidence to bring charges against Tesla. And I think Tesla's going to try to relocate to Texas to try to avoid it, which I think is classic. It's like, when you feel like, you're in California, which is known to be this sort of liberal state, so to speak, you're like, let's go on to Texas. It's good. The brothers upstairs with the game. It's good. It's good. Okay. So that's another win. Number 4, we've got the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union in Bessemer, Alabama. They filed an additional unfair labor practices and charges against Amazon. A lot of us shop with Amazon. So I get it. But I'm happy to see this happening for them, because if you all recall, they had an initial election for a union to determine whether they wanted to have a union or not. And that was back in spring of 2021. And at the end of that vote, it said, oh, well, the workers don't want it. The workers here don't want that. Well, hold on. This union comes in and they object because they said that first election, there was a whole lot of interference on behalf of Amazon. And so their objections were Amazon's intimidation and interference prevented the workers from having a fair say and whether they even wanted to have a union in their workplace. So National Labor Relations Board, they said, you know what? We agree with you. And so they've directed there to be a second election for the workers at Amazon and Bessemer. So I hope that we'll follow that because that's huge, because what happens again, revolution, protests, all of that is contagious. So what happens in one place happens in another place, and it's even global. So let's keep an eye on that. Number 5, this is the last one. If you all remember in my Black Women on the Bench, my live stream there, you all can go check that out because I went a little bit more in depth about Black women serving in federal courts and in state courts as well. But I did that episode. I mentioned a judge named Ketanji Brown Jackson. So recently, President Joe Biden has nominated Judge Jackson to become the next Associate Justice to the United States Supreme Court. And I told you all, this woman is a very special unicorn, okay? Very special. 36% of Black women graduate from college. Only, let's see, Black students represent Black students. So that's men and women. 7.57% of incoming law students. And then only 1.8%, I told everybody, remember this number, 1.8% of all the 3,843 judges who have ever served on the federal bench have been Black women. And now we have one, she is the one Black woman that we know has been nominated for there was Lonnie Grenier before, I believe. I'll have to go into that another day. So now you have this one Black woman currently 2022 has been nominated for Supreme Court of the United States. I think that this is, I'm very reluctant to use the term victory, but I do think that this outcome is a result of so many civic organizations, so many sororities. I will acknowledge Delta Sigma Theta. I have a lot of friends who are Deltas and they were writing letters and they've been doing so for years. I know the women here in Georgia, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, I know that they've all been campaigning, writing letters, having meetings for years to see another Black woman sort of nominated to this post. And so this is the work of their ongoing advocacy. So let's hope that we see some progress with this. If you can find something wrong with this particular judge, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how, Harvard law. She's a special unicorn to even get to the appellate federal bench. And so it's interesting. I will say this, and I've heard this before, that so many people, when they aspire and they dream big, people have deterred them. They said that Judge Jackson told her high school guidance counselor that she wanted to attend Harvard, and the guidance counselor warned Judge Jackson that she should not set her sights so high. So this is what I'm saying to everyone. You got to keep the faith. You got to believe in yourself even when others don't. We have a wonderful, wonderful history. As we sort of close out Black History Month, we have this wonderful history of people who've had to overcome overwhelming odds, who have been pioneers, who've been the only one to be in a position and a space. But one thing that we have seen consistently is that when they are the only one, they do reach back. That's that same Kofa mindset. We reach back and we take our history with us and we bring our communities with us as we go. So just a few things I want to mention today. Next week, I might even go into a little bit about the, given everything happening in Ukraine, the anti-war sort of protest movements of the United States, maybe try to contextualize that for everyone. But in the meantime, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish everyone, just peace and love and everything. Happy Black History Month, Mardi Gras, all that good stuff. If you like this episode, make sure you like it. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you need to look at other videos that we've done before, it's KKP_presents. You'll see them all listed there. But thank you for joining me. Have a great week, everybody.